All right, so lesson 2-4. Addition, subtraction rules we're going to be getting into, but first off, tying back to last lesson here with comparing, ordering integers, put these in order from greatest to least. Again, pay attention to those directions. Here they want greatest to least, sometimes we'll least to greatest. Make sure you're following that there. So the greatest one. Well, the biggest one there we have is 74. And then 59. And now it's kind of going backwards. So now we're going to look at, okay, least number, but it's negative, which makes it the bigger number. So 53, negative 53. Then negative 66. And lastly, negative 94. So when it comes to now adding and subtracting integers, when they're the same sign, it's going to be whatever the sign they are. So if they're both positive, then its sum will be positive. They're both negative, their sum will be negative. When it comes to adding with different signs, you're really just going to subtract them, and then the bigger number, or the number that was negative. Okay, let me back this up a minute. So if we have two numbers that are different signs, we're adding them. You're going to subtract the two numbers. So take the big number minus the small number, and then whichever one was biggest, that's the sign you go with. So if it was, say, 3 plus negative 10, you take 10 minus 3 and get 7. And because 10 was negative, it's going to be a negative 7 for an answer. If it was the other way, if it was 10 plus a negative 3, you take 10 minus 3 and get 7. The 10 was positive, so it would be a positive 7 in that case. And then when we subtract, we're going to be adding the additive inverse. So if it's, we're going to go through, we're going to switch the sign, we're going to leave change opposite, and then it'll be like following the addition rules. So for this one here, a lot of it's just going to be, okay, what is the sign? Just all we're going to focus is on the signs of how what's going to happen in these equations. In the next lesson, we're going to do just adding positive integers. We're going to add them, and we're going to get that all nailed down. And then the one after that is just going to be subtracting integers. So for this one here, 89 minus a negative 9. We're going to do the additive inverse. So leave the first one alone as 89. Change this to plus, and then do the opposite sign. So that'll be, instead of minus and a negative 9, it'll be plus a positive 9. And so adding two positives, which make this positive. Okay. Now, tomorrow we'll get into what it actually is when we find those answers, but for now, that's what we're doing. So here, we're adding two numbers. They're both negative. So if they're both negative and being added, the end, it'll be negative. All right, positive number minus another positive number. So really with this, you can look at, okay, we have a big number, we're subtracting some, the bigger number is positive, so this is going to be positive. Another way to look at it is, well, we'd be adding a negative. So in this case, we would be subtracting, we're going to leave change opposite, so leave the first one alone, change to plus, opposite would be 7. So in other words, you can look at this as we have a really big number that's positive, and we're going to add in a little number that's negative. It's going to stay more positive if you want to look at it that way. But really, we could have just kept it as big number minus a small number. They're both positive. It should be positive in the end. We're not taking away more than what we have. And then lastly, if I have a negative minus a positive, again, this is where the leave change opposite really helps too, just like in the first one up there. But leave this one alone, change this to plus, flip the sign so that's a negative. Now we're adding two negatives, which means it's going to be negative as well. So when we're subtracting, especially if we're subtracting a negative or if we're subtracting a positive from a negative, the lead change opposite really works. If it's just the normal, which I'll rewrite here, of 8,730,865 minus 722. Again, you've seen this for years. You don't necessarily have to do the lead change opposite with that. You can just go, wait, I have a big number minus a small number, it's going to be positive. If it would have been the other way, a small number minus a big number, then you would have been, no, it was negative as well. So you don't always have to do the lead change opposite, but the lead change opposite is a good practice to do, especially when they're different signs like this, or like this one up here. Then it just gets it to the same sign, makes it a lot easier. So let me know if you have any questions. But until next time, we'll see you later.